Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Doc's Autos, and today we're going to figure out why my BMW has lost its cool, right after this. Alrighty, welcome back. Today our problem is a leaky coolant expansion tank. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I was out driving around, running some errands, and came out of a gas station and saw that there were a few drips underneath the car. I figured I'd gone through a puddle, no big deal, and as I drove around a little more, the next place I stopped, as I came back out, I was looking and noticed that there were a few more drips under each place that I went to. So, doing a little investigation in the dark, in a parking lot with a flashlight from my phone, I was able to determine there was a little coolant leak coming from the expansion reservoir ball. So on the F25 here, this is your expansion tank here, and underneath, difficult to show you right now, but there is a couple of connections for the coolant and for the sensor. And digging around, I found that the area by that coolant sensor plug was very moist, and I could see drips going down from that area onto the frame and then onto the ground below me. Now, I can see now, I don't think there are any drips under here. Nope, there are no drips, which is sort of perplexing because for a while it was dripping every time that I stopped, and then it stopped, period. And it's been probably a few days, close to a week since it's had any leak, but I figure, you know what, I already ordered the parts from FCP Euro. Those got here. I got the new expansion tank and a gallon of the BMW antifreeze. So I figure we're going to step through how to replace that coolant tank, because with my luck, it'll fail again at a more inopportune time, maybe going on a road trip, kids in the car, either way, not a good time to blow your coolant expansion tank and lose all of your coolant. So we're going to go through that process here. Trying to scour around the YouTubes and the Googles, I didn't find a whole lot of information on this. So it does look like to be a pretty easy task. You take off this wiring harness here. It's bolted here in a few places. And then there's a bolt back here and a little slide in here, which we'll get into as well. And the bulb should pull right up. There's a connector here for the return from the cooling lines. There is your switch or your plug underneath, and then another line running to the block for the coolant. So here's what the new ball looks like. Underneath here is that plug for that sensor, and that's where it is weeping around. It is pretty wet and goopy right by my fingers here. So that, I believe, is my culprit. Here's the other actual line from the engine. I'm going to double check that, but either way, one of these two items here has failed or is in the process of failing. So I'm just going to go ahead and swap it out, top it back off, and hopefully we'll be good to go. My aim is to pinch off this line here with a vise or clamp so I don't lose any more coolant than I have to. So that is why we went ahead and got the extra gallon of antifreeze, just so I have that here on hand. So I guess we will just get to it. Alrighty, so as I was saying, we've got 1, 2, 3 bolts here, and those are just your standard 10 mil. And make sure you don't lose them, because if you still have the belly pan on your car, if they fall down, they are pretty much gone unless you can see them and retrieve them with a little hook or a magnet, or unless you feel like taking off your belly pan. Once these two are off, you can pull this harness up out of the way. It does clip here on the support. Then you've got one more right back here. Now with luck, the tank should just start to lift up. I'm going to go ahead and remove this return line. Got just a simple pick for this. Lifts up, and the line comes off. There we go. This ball should lift up. And now it is free from the little mounting on the frame. You still can't see the two little plugs underneath, but they are there, trust me. So I need to work on pinching. If you can see down here. I don't know if you can see down there, but there is the line for the coolant, which I'm trying to get at to pinch that off so we don't drain everything out of this ball. All right, so I managed to suck about 3.5 solo cups of coolant out of here. And there's still some in there and some is going to spill, but with the lack of turkey basters around here, that's about all I can get out. So under here now we have our little blue connector for our sensor. That should hopefully be as easy as lifting up the tab on the plug and it comes out. Maybe my goal needs to get the other coolant hose off first so I can pull up that switch and get a better, or pull up that sensor and get a better look at it. All right, got that out. Now, see if I can pull off this fitting and cap it off with my finger so I don't lose much more coolant. But I'm sure it's gonna make a mess. Okay, so I did get the tank out. That was pretty easy to do. Of course, there was some spilled coolant. This hose, of course, seems to be a little lower, farther back in the engine, and spilled some coolant. So I guess that's going to wind up in the belly pan, not the bolts. But what I did end up having to do is take out this blue plug from the bottom because I wasn't able to easily get off the plug, and I didn't want to break the plug. So we'll see there. There's my little tab. So it's more of a second tier tab. I thought I was putting my screwdriver in the end of here, but it's actually right in here that goes. And then then it should come out. So let's try this again. Now that I have room to work in here anyways. There we go. Now, what I was saying is that there's a second tab on this plug here. You can see, there it is. I was trying to stick my pick at the end here, but it's actually inset a little bit is where the catch is. So it may help if you can get the sensor out first and then unhook it. So what we've got is, this I believe is where our failure was, our failure point, and this was very wet before, and now it's even more wet. I think there's a seal or something below where it goes. See if I can see anything in the light. It's where it goes into right there in the middle. I don't really see where there is a seal, but maybe it's just by pressure. And the new tank here looks just very much the same. So we're just going to go ahead and put it back in reverse order and fill it back up with the coolant. So we've got our coolant tank, position it where it goes, take our plug, plug back in. It does only go one direction, so no worries about plugging it in backwards. Just have to get my hand in there. All right, that is snapped in. And take my coolant hose and fit that back on the end of the tube. That is also slotted. There we go, that's in. Take my restraining pin or my little lock pin, find where it goes. Don't drop your flashlight down in the antifreeze in the belly pan. So I'm sorry this is difficult to see, but you'll have to take my word for it. You remove my clamp from the coolant, so don't forget that. Now we can set this back in place where it goes. Now there's a little catch back here on the frame, so make sure these little tabs get set on there. And then there is a guide hole below as well, so everything fits in there. There we go, everything is sit right back in place where it should be. You can take this line, fit him back in place. Slide him back in. And there we go, he is also clipped in. Put our 3 10mm bolts back on. We'll go ahead and throw some of our coolant in here. And there is a max and minimum fill line in here. So we'll go ahead and fill it up to max. And I'll run the vehicle for a bit just to make sure everything circulates around and check it again. Make sure we have no leaks. There we go. Look at that, not a spot dripped, expert level. Last thing to do here is spin on our coolant cap. This is not included in the replacement ball itself, so we will want to reuse this. Spin it on until it clicks, and there's actually a pair of arrows that will indicate when everything is tightened and lined up. So that's going to be that process. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. Again, I did not find a lot of information about this procedure online, YouTube videos, documentation, whatnot, but doing a little investigating beforehand, I was able to determine it really was not that big of a challenge to do, but I thought this might be helpful for you. So if you did find this helpful, go ahead and hit subscribe below, share it to your friends, smash that like button, and make sure you hit the bell notification to make sure you see all of our new videos posted. This is Tim from Doc's Autos. Have a great day and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.